G'day guys, welcome back to a new episode of the Boundary Riders podcast, episode 87 today. My brother is not with me, but we do have a lot to talk about. Basically today we're going to be doing a pretty big breakdown of the draft and looking at a couple of prospects going through this season, a couple of news topics as well, and a surprise retirement for a former Collingwood player and North Melbourne player as well. So let's roll the intro and get straight into it. So yeah, like I said guys, my brother is not here, but that is all good. We'll try to probably be a little bit more
and then Rankin from the pocket, don't tell me, Isaac Rankin!
Yeah.
He's just got the license for a brothel.
Well, I think Gather Round's going to be more than just AFL this next season.
It's at the handle at the back, Nick Dankos to get the pies home! He's done it!
Shorter episode today because my brother isn't here. There's not much to talk back, but there was a couple of things I wanted to take a look at before we take a look at the draft itself. Does seem that Jaden Stevenson is going to retire from footy. He has lost passion for the game. Not really too surprised by that. I mean, my will to live would probably be lowered pretty significantly if I was playing for North Melbourne, but I'm joking, obviously. It is pretty sad, though. You could definitely tell after he moved from Collingwood to North Melbourne, he just never had that spark that he had when he, the Rising Star in 2018 and got to the grand final with Collingwood and had a 40-plus goal season then as well. So it is pretty sad to see such potential just not be wasted. Well, I guess kind of wasted in the AFL space, but hopefully he does find something at the very least to do as he moves forward. It does seem, though, that there is some... So looking at it, the Roos will confirm soon that Jaden Stevenson is retired from footy. He has a contract worth over $500,000. Clearly the devil in the room, devil in the detail about whether he's walked away from that money or has negotiated a settlement but clears another list spot. So he very well could be leaving with a bit of cash. I don't know. I mean, at the point where he was at his career... I wouldn't have been surprised if he walked away with a lot of money on the table because, you could definitely tell that he lost his passion for the game. And, I guess I kind of said a minute ago that it's kind of sad that so much potential has been wasted, but I think it does show that the AFL just is it's a pressure cooker and environment. Obviously, from the outside looking in, you would expect that, but being in between the four walls of it at a club like North Melbourne that... has been down the bottom for so long, and that just adds more pressure, and the potential that he has had being a high draft pick, having such a good first year or two as his career, and then it's really steeply dropped off. I think it does show that AFL players, as we just try to think that they're just all heroes and Adonises, but obviously they are humans as well, so you can expect that every now and then we get players that just can't deal with the pressure. And Jaden Stevenson had 1 year left on his contract. I don't know if he would have really gone on after that anyway, but I guess everything's got to him in one foul swoop and he's kind of moved on. And all hope to him. Hopefully when he moves forward on in his career he finds something new, but it is kind of sad to see a player like that who's just gone and retired. On the other news, though, it looks like Tim Membry, he's been delisted from St Kilda, but let's be honest, that was basically because I'm assuming he probably would have asked for a huge amount of money from St Kilda to stay because obviously Collingwood want him. So it looks like he's set to join Collingwood very shortly in the delisted free agency period, which starts November the 1st. So I think that's Friday. So he'll definitely go, and that's a massive get for Collingwood. He's a 40-plus goal kicker, if not 50. And at a better club like Collingwood, I could definitely see him pairing well with the likes of Brodie Myercheck, Jamie Elliott, all the likes up there, Bobby Hill as well. So I think he's just a great addition there for Collingwood. And, they're going to get him for nothing, so might as well go and grab a player like that. Another news story as well was the fact that Blunston Arena or Bellerive Oval will now be known as Ninja Stadium. What a great story this is. So it looks like Shark Ninja, a kitchen, home, and beauty appliances company, has taken over. So it's just for the cricket. So in the cricket for Tasmania this year, every game played at Blunston Arena will now be known as Ninja Stadium. I don't know about that. Shark Stadium I think would have sounded cooler, to be honest with you, but I don't know. I feel like that would have been cooler. But anyway, that's just another news story. And another one here on a contract front was the fact Darcy Fogarty has signed to the Adelaide Crows until 2031. 25-year-old was going to become a restricted free agent next year, but obviously isn't going anywhere now with the big signing. He signs for 6 years, 7 years? Yeah, 7 years. So, massive contract. Obviously, Kane Corns wasn't too impressed by it. I think the potential is there. And I mean, I think what Daniel Gorringeau has says is that this league signs on potential, and that's what they're doing with the Adelaide Crows. Obviously, he's the predecessor to Taylor Walker. I think at this point, if I'm the Adelaide Crows, I'm just letting that roll through. Just letting Darcy Fogarty take over as the key forward. Riley Thilthorpe, I wouldn't say make Walker retire, but they've got to start moving on eventually. And I think it should have happened a couple of years ago. I think they should have been trying to move Taylor Walker on pretty quickly and be willing to stay down the bottom just to develop these forwards. I mean, it just feels like that these sort of players, they just haven't had a good run at it. They even got rid of Elliot Himmelberg in the free agency period, and I think that was a mistake. I don't know why I know obviously he wanted to go through free agency, but they shouldn't have let him go. They should have signed him. He's got great potential, and it would have given another string to their bow with Riley Thilthorpe, who could have gone through the ruck as well. So I think the Crows are making a couple of mistakes. I don't know. I just think Walker should have been held on. Walker should have been, I don't know, not let go, but just play him less reliant on him. I think last year was a worse thing that could have happened to Adelaide on the Taylor Walker front, because he did so well with the Coleman medal, because they obviously couldn't delist him or, have him less of an influence in the 2024 season because of how good he played the previous year. So it is a bit, I don't know. I'd be interested to see what the Crows do in the off-season with their forward line. I think it's one of the most potent forward lines on paper, but they just have to get it to work and get it to gel. And if Thilthorpe can get a full pre-season like he did last year and then get on the field, they could be a team in the top 8 next year. But there's so many teams fighting for the top 8. I definitely think Adelaide will be up there, though. Another thing I want to take a look at was the McClelland Trophy. So the McClelland Trophy is the points tallied between the AFLW and the AFL. It looks like Hawthorn are pretty well in the box seat to win the McClelland Trophy prize, which is $1 million for a club. So Hawthorn at the moment lead by 6 points with 1 game to go. Brisbane are the only team now who can jump them. Brisbane would have to win and Hawthorn would have to lose to steal the prize there, the Brisbane Lions. That would be massive if they could win that too. So Hawthorn will be going into the game against, Richmond? Yeah. So they have to beat Richmond at Swinburne Stadium on Sunday. However, the Lions are taking on St Kilda in their first game on Sunday to see if they can take home the McClelland Trophy. And Port Adelaide's in third spot for that, so they missed out, unfortunately, for them. Jesus Christ. At least West Coast are down the bottom in this one. At least Richmond don't get the wooden spoon in the McClelland Trophy, I guess they could say for themselves. Because, my God, that's pretty embarrassing. But I think the McClelland Trophy with the women's AFLW, because there's less games, you get double points. So I think that's why Brisbane have a chance. They can get 8 points with a win. And if Hawthorn lose, then Brisbane would steal the premiership, the McClelland Trophy, I guess. I don't really talk too much about the AFLW. I'll be talking a little bit about, I guess there's a little bit of not a spoiler, but I guess there will be a video essay coming out, the last video essay on the channel for the year. It will be a video taking a look at, I don't want to say it's a contentious topic, but I guess it is. The title of it will be, The AFL Has Gone Woke, or Has It? And just taking a look at a couple of places in the AFL where so-called, I hate this fucking word, bro. Wokeness is seen, political correctness and all that sort of bullshit. I fucking hate it. But I think it is an interesting topic to take a look at and really take a bit of a deep dive into what I believe the case is. I mean, this is what I'll be the conclusion of what my video is going to be. Maybe I shouldn't tell you that, actually, because that's the whole point of the video. I want you to watch it. But yeah, it's just a couple of topics. I guess I can talk about the topics I'll be talking about. We've got the AFLW, the Indigenous part of the AFL, I guess, and the homosexual, gay, LGBTQ plus, whatever the fuck, community as well. Sorry, I don't know all the letters. I'm fucking Sorry, just deal with it. I'm sure you'll be fine. But yeah, that's kind of the video that'll be about. It'll be out on Monday at the usual time. I think it's 3 p.m. Melbourne time. So look forward to that. It will be the last video I say of the year. There'll be more videos coming out in the midweek as well as the podcast. But yeah, I just want to kind of bring that up. I'll probably talk about that a little bit more in next week's episode. Actually, probably be the week after, thinking about it now, because I just realised that, yeah, there's also another thing. I'll probably say that at the end of the episode. But yeah, that's kind of all that I want to talk about. I did want to speak about one more comment. I'm going to do it anyway. I don't care. This is our podcast, and I'm here today. My brother isn't here to hold me back. So last week in the podcast, we talked about the Giants' suspension. My brother and I were on a pretty fair point of saying that it was pretty ridiculous how severe the punishment was for what the Giants players did. If you don't know, they were caught having a private function and they were doing a bunch of jokes and skits, pretty inappropriate jokes as well. But at the end of the day, it was private. No one knew about it, and it was between teammates. So I thought it was pretty... The jokes weren't the greatest. I mean, I don't think they were the most... They weren't PC friendly, let's just put it that way. I mean, I thought a couple of them were pretty funny, but I think it was a joke at the end of the day. All the players didn't really obviously back down pretty quickly. There was apologies galore from the AFL, or not from the AFL, from the Giants, and the AFL quickly put the kibosh on it and pretty much gave them the suspensions. 4 matches for Josh Fay, then 2 matches for a bunch of other players, and then some pretty big sanctions for senior players, which I thought was pretty... I thought some suspensions were pretty harsh. I did think it was very interesting that looking at it now, I think it's very interesting that Josh Fay got 4 matches when a player, said a homophobic slur a couple of weeks ago, throughout the season, and got 3 matches. I don't know. I feel like a joke's a little bit less than a slur, but I don't know. I feel like it's such a topsy-turvy sort of way the AFL deal with things that it just doesn't make any sort of sense for everyone. So I think that's where I kind of lied with it. I thought they were jokes, so I didn't see an issue with it. Most of the people that I saw out in the public and on messaging and comments and stuff, and people that I've talked to, have basically said, who cares? They were just doing what they were just having a bit of a laugh, having a bit of fun or whatever. But of course, it is the internet, and other people can... I don't have a problem with other people, having a differing opinion. That's more than fine. But I think when other people get so angry at our opinion and won't even see the other side of it, I just don't really like. So there was one person in the comments who was pretty adamant, was like, we should almost take this down because we had a differing opinion to the wider AFL public, which isn't the case. So I replied, "What do you mean by AFL community?" And they said, the AFL officials. So the Giants. I'm assuming he means the Giants and the AFL itself. Now I see it as, why would the Giants and that are obviously going to back down, apologise, because they don't want to hurt their advertisers. Because the AFL, the clubs, they're all held by their advertisers. Obviously, that's the way they make their money, basically. I mean, I know you've got things like members and other shit like that, but the AFL makes the most amount of their money, I would assume, from advertisers. I think it's pretty fair to say. So that's why they back down, because most people, there were people as well who were like, this is deplorable acts by the players and all this sort of stuff and yada, yada, yada. I don't think it was that big a deal, but I understand that some people do. And at the end of the day, the outer public, there are some people out there who will to the point of going to YouTubers, and if they do something like, say, a bad word 10 years ago, they'll go and pull their sponsors. What do you think they're going to do when it's a big AFL football club? Of course, there are people who are that petty that would do the exact same. So they were making the point of, our opinion, we shouldn't have said our opinion because other people, the AFL official stance in that was that it was a bad thing. And I see that as the AFL, of course, are going to say that because they're hold to their advertisers. Their advertisers would have said, get this swept under the fucking rug now. And the thing is it's worked. No one's talking about it anymore. No one gives a fuck. No one's going to... People are going to... Probably a couple of people watching this will be like, What the hell happened with the Giants? Oh, that's right. That's what happened with the Giants. Anyway, so it was a bit of a back and forth. I don't like. I'm trying to stay away from like negative sort of comments. I'm trying to because it's not good for your brain. But I was just curious about like why this person was so adamant on it. And I'm trying to find the thread here because it was a very interesting way to look at it. Because most people who watch the podcast pretty much had the same opinion as me and my brother. Like, who cares? The AFL. Some people saying the AFL should be ashamed of themselves. I don't really think is that bad, but I just didn't think it was. I just thought it was a bit strange to me, to be honest. So here's a thread. He says, "Name a single rep of any AFL team of AFL themselves to support your opinion." So, I mean, of course, they're not going to support our... I mean, they very well could support our opinion, but they're not going to do it publicly. Outside of the fact that... So I said, so your opinion is... So our opinion has to sit with some AFL club reps. So I'm just making that point, and you're claiming that everyone should agree with the AFL clubs say. People in the public can't have a differing opinion from people in charge. What a weird take. So I think it is. I mean, why would people on a podcast that gets... a couple, maybe 100 views, 100 listens, 200 listens. Why do they have to agree with your opinion? I mean, that's such a toxic way to look at things. You have to agree 100% with what other people think. Like, I have friends, and if they had a differing opinion than me on something, I'd rather them tell me why they have that opinion rather than just go, oh, well, you're not... I'm not going to back away from a friend or a conversation because you have a differing opinion. I'd like to know what your opinion is and why. No matter how outlandish it is. And I mean, this isn't exactly an outlandish take. I was just asking what his opinion was, and I thought it was a bit weird. Like, why would you take that? And then he says that's not what he meant. Sorry, that's not what he said. I would argue that supporting the actions of the Giants players is a weirder take. And I'm not exactly saying I'm supporting it, but I don't agree with the punishment. I think the punishment is ridiculously harsh for something that is a party. That, these guys are in their 20s, whatever... No, I'm going to say this. They're 20 years old, and I'm sure any other 20-year-old around the country, there's many of them that would be doing a lot the same, if not worse. And I hate the argument that, they're role models. It's like, they're role models, yes, but they also are adults, they're humans. They can have time to themselves. And that's exactly what they were doing here. This is a private function. They should be allowed to do what they want in that private function as long as it's not hurting anyone. And if someone didn't blab about it, no one would have been hurt. So that's my stance on it. But anyway, it continues to go. Don't know if you actually watched the clip, because I don't think you did. But we didn't support the players on what they did. We just think the sanctions for the AFL were ridiculous. And plus you're the one who says AFL community in the first message, but quickly change that to AFL club reps. So which one is it? I'd argue that the AFL media and the reps are a large portion of the community. Wrong. That is so wrong. Are you telling me that that is just a delusional take? I'm sorry, because that is not true. If you're talking about the AFL community, I would include the fans, the players, all of them. I wouldn't just bring the AFL media and the club reps. What sort of take is that? That is beyond dumb. But anyway, so I'm not changing my statement. It's a comment, bro. I don't ask you to change your statement, you weirdo. And seriously, you think AFL players should be able to make fun of slavery and child rape and lesser consequences? You're kidding yourself. If they're making a joke about it, I honestly don't have an issue with a joke. As long as it's not hurting any person. If you get offended by a joke, and I'm sorry, this sounds fucking so... I hate sounding like this boomer take, but if you get offended by a joke, that's on you. That's not on them. Okay? I'm sorry. You could easily... Let's say you have kids, okay? If you have kids, don't show them this, okay? Don't show them. They don't have to know about it. I'm assuming the kids are below... look, if they're over the age of 14, maybe explain to them what this was if they see it out in the public. But if they're under the age of 12 or whatever, they shouldn't be able to see it anyway because they shouldn't be on any sort of social media or any sort of platform to see it. Okay? That's a pretty fair statement, I would say. Anyway, fucking hell. This is making me upset. I shouldn't have read it. Anyway. So... It keeps on going on. And a couple of people made some interesting comments. Like someone said, the projection is crazy from you, bro. I understand that if you're one of the people who are offended, but at the end of the day, who cares? It's a joke. And then he goes, you do realize condoning these types of jokes is a huge part of the problem, right? No, it's not the case. Are you seriously saying that is what? So condoning jokes or being okay with jokes is a part of the problem. I don't get people have been making jokes for hundreds and hundreds of years. People will continue to make them hundreds and hundreds more. Do you really think that people not making a joke about that sort of stuff is going to stop it? That's not the way to go. I don't think that's the way to go about it. I think most people would think the same. Anyway, this is the reason why I'm talking about this, because this person says you do realizing that condoning these types of jokes is a huge part of the problem. Okay? That's his take, not mine. That is his. And also, above that, he said that players should not be making fun of slavery and child rape. Okay? So that's his stance. Not taking jokes, not making fun of them. Okay? That's condoning the actions. Okay? So thank you to this person who checked this out, because I didn't really check his YouTube channel, but apparently he clicked on his YouTube channel, and I looked at this as well, and he doesn't have a YouTube channel really. He just has a profile. But in his description of his channel, he goes, "Please sub. I need to keep my child labor Nike factories running." So you've just made a joke about child labor, but slavery. By the way, I don't agree with any of this. But that means you're condoning child labor, your child slavery, mind you. You're okay with people over the age of 18 being slaves, but anyone under the age of 18, that's not cool. You're okay with that, but once they turn over 18, that's not fair. That's not fair. That's not okay. Now, I'm not a part of the joke police. I think it's a pretty funny joke. But I would argue that why is your take okay with that? So you're okay with it, or are you okay with jokes? You can't be on both. This is the hypocritical... And he didn't respond to this either, because the comment is hilarious, and it called him out for it. So, bit of a fucking moron take, I would say. I've spent half this podcast, the last 10 minutes, talking about a fucking comment. Anyway, you're a loser, bro, alright? I think you are. I think your take is so strange. Before you got on the arc of, like, jokes, like... condoning, so making a joke is bad, like really bad. Before that, your take on the Giants situation, I don't mind to an extent, like to a little bit of an extent. I don't mind the argument, like, players shouldn't be making those sort of jokes. Okay, I don't agree with it, but I do understand it. But to say the AFL community, the large part of the AFL community is the media and the AFL reps. I don't know what your definition of the AFL community is, but I would argue that I'm a part of it because I'm a fan of it. I'm sure you are too. So if you don't like it, that's fine. But some people don't mind the joke or just don't care. I feel like that's a big point now. Don't let this affect your life. Now, yes, this comment affected my life, and it shouldn't have. So learn from me. Don't listen to these who cares, bro? Oh, I'm talking about this for 10 minutes. Shut up, Dylan. Move on. Okay, let's talk about the draft. So, the AFL draft is coming up pretty shortly. Richmond have about, 20 first-round picks in the draft, in the first 24 picks. So, they're looking for a big haul. But I wanted to take a look at Cal Toomey's Phantom Form Guide, taking a look at his top 30 of players. And I wanted to try to match it up to the players who are getting picked up by certain clubs. So his ranking, what I'm going to try and do, it's going to be a bit difficult, but what I'm going to try and do is link up the player to the team in the draft. That's what I'm going to try and do. It's going to be a bit difficult because I know players like Brisbane and Essendon have certain father-sons and academy players, so it's going to be a bit difficult, but I'm going to try and do it. So first of all, it looks like Cal Toomey has said that Levi Ashcroft would go at pick 1. Now obviously Richmond have pick 1, but... If he was to be bidded, that would obviously mean that he would get picked up by Brisbane. So Brisbane would effectively get pick 1. So moving to second pick would be Finn O'Sullivan. So he would be going to Richmond. So Finn O'Sullivan, he was picked last month's form guide. He had him in 4th spot. So he's moved him up 2 spots. So the first pick really would be Finn O'Sullivan. A lot of talk about him in the draft year. quite a high agility, really good vertical leap as well. Bit of a taller midfielder, well, mid-sized midfielder nowadays, 182. He started as well as the season as the number one pick in the contention. Definitely, well, still could be. It'd be interesting what Richmond do if they want to make Brisbane bid right up, or what they want to do with that. We'll have to wait and see. After that, we've got Harvey Langford. So he was actually regarded last month as the second pick. He's gone down to third. Another midfielder, quite big though, 190 centimetres. That's pretty decent for AFL standard nowadays. He would be going to North Melbourne. That's an interesting one because you really feel like North Melbourne shouldn't be picking up any more midfielders. They'd have to pick up some, mid-sized players, some, taller forwards or key positions, so to speak. So interesting to see how North Melbourne go down that path. There's obviously, the thing is as well, teams can trade on draft night to certain picks. So I actually wouldn't be too surprised if North Melbourne try to split their pick, maybe with St Kilda with 7 and 8. That would be an interesting one if St Kilda want to try and get to pick 2. But this stage, North Melbourne would have Harvey Langford, if this goes all to plan. Sam Layla, another midfielder as well. So it is a very midfield-heavy draft. He, with this stage, would be going to Carlton with the third pick. So Carlton obviously did all their work in the trade period. One of the winners, really, to try and get right up in the draft. So they would be picking up Sam Layla at pick 4. That'd be good for them. Jagger Smith, love the name. I want to hear Jagger. In the crowd of Adelaide. Oh. Okay, so he would be... Oh, I don't really want to hear that at Adelaide. So Jagger Smith, he's a Vic Metro player, midfielder, 181 centimetres, high agility, extraction gun, as they say. I would be interested to see if they do pick up Jagger Smith, if it was Adelaide. At the moment, he would be linked to this point, but there's a player in a couple of picks that I'm going to mention that I think maybe Adelaide would take. Looking at the next one, it's Murphy Reid. Kind of looks like Harley Reid if he had brown hair. Kind of. Midfield forward, Sandringham and Vic Metro. An ankle injury suffered midway through the Coates Talent League Grand Final meant that Reid didn't test for the draft combine, but a little bit unfortunate. He was clear from all fronts though, so apart from aggravating a muscle problem, should be all good to go. He'll be fine for the preseason, I would say. At this point, he would be going to Melbourne. So, interesting to see how that one plays out. This is the one I'm going to talk about. So, Sid Draper. He's basically the first South Australian in the draft pool that are really being taking a look at heavily. Midfielder, 180 centimetres, played to South Adelaide and South Australia. I wouldn't be surprised if the Crows bid for him at pick 5, just because they have to keep the talent in South Australia. We've seen how that... I mean, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Isaac Rankin and Jack Lacoste just came straight back to South Australia as soon as they could, so... I still think that would be an interesting one. I think the Crows, if he's there at pick 5, they'll definitely pick him. But at this stage, at pick 7, he would be going to Richmond. So that's their second pick in that draft already. After that, we have Josh Smiley, 194 midfielder. So quite a big body midfielder, this one. Tall midfielder, finished in the top 10 in the standing vertical leap. Did well in the 2K time trial in a 6'3", 6 minutes, 38 seconds. I couldn't do that, so good on you, Josh. He would be going to St Kilda as one of their second picks. Oh, no. Oh, he's been cursed. His career's cursed. Josh Smiley, I'm sorry, bro. When St Kilda get first-round picks, they inevitably fuck them up, so I'm sorry to Josh Smiley. Unfortunately, your career is over. Moving on, another victim of St Kilda is Alex Toro. I like the name, dude. Tall defender at 193. Looks a bit young, that's okay. He had 17 club interviews. So this is basically the first tall defender in the draft that is going to get a serious look at. This will be linked to St Kilda as well. Interesting that it's actually going to be compensation for Josh Battle if he inevitably does go there. So wouldn't be a bad pickup, I'd say, for a tall defender. Looking next is Harry Armstrong, tall forwards. This is the first tall forward of the draft, the highest pegged forward. This is interesting because this would be linked to Melbourne's 9th pick. So, I mean, Melbourne are obviously begging out for a tall forward. So, I think going to the draft wouldn't be the worst call, so to speak. We'll have to wait and see on that front. Looks like he's straight kicking left footer. 27 goals, 10 in 10 games this year. That's really good. 195 centimetres is all. That's really strong. So, definitely someone that they could build off of there, Melbourne, if they were to pick him up. Pick 10, or number 11 on this list, is Toby Travagalea. Oh my God, I want this guy to join the Swans. 187 defender, so it looks like a running defender. Attacking half-backer. He'd be linked to Richmond's 10th pick, so Travagalea. Remember the name, guys. That's going to be a talking point. Next one here is Bo Allen, Western Australian, 191 centimeters, midfield defender. Interesting if Richmond go with this one. They do have pick 11. Obviously been burned a bit by Liam Baker and Shea Bolton in recent times. So interesting to see if they'd get this pick. He would be linked to pick 11. Funnily enough, though, West Coast do have pick 12. So if he does fall to pick 12, maybe Bo Allen would go to the West Coast Eagles. But looking next is pick 13, or number 13 on this list is Leo Lombard. So the next pick would be West Coast, but that's going to be eaten up by the Gold Coast. So the Gold Coast would get that one, obviously, as an academy pick. After that, we move to Isaac Kako. So this guy's been talked about as a small forward for Essendon. He's a part of their academy. So he would bump that one down as well. So he's knocked off 2 picks. So Isaac Kako would be the next one up. Looks like he's definitely... I think he saw an interview as well. He's really excited about the Hawthorn way they go about it and not taking themselves too seriously, so to speak. So I like that angle, and 175 centimeters, quite short, but he's definitely an energizer player. So I think he's definitely going to be talked about for years to come. Hopefully, he can get Essendon's first finals win in 20 odd years. Let's move on anyway. Taj Houghton is next, the 15th player on this list, midfield forward, 182 centimeters. After undergoing a knee reconstruction earlier this year, had a recent follow-up surgery ahead of the next recovery milestone, which is returning. Houghton was tracking to be a top 10 pick before the injury ended his draft season. That's really unfortunate. Hopefully, he's okay. He would be linked to West Coast 12th pick, I believe. After that, we get to Xavier Lindsay, Vic Country player, midfielder, 183 centimetres. His best form of the season was being in the midfield for Gippsland Power. Averaged 23 touches across 12 games. Claimed the Morris Medal in the Coates Talents League Best Player. So, really interesting to see how he goes, the left footer as well. Always good to see. He'd be linked to Port Adelaide's 13th pick. After that, we get to Luke Traynor. So, Traynor sat out testing in the draft combine with a hip injury. Missed the grand final for Sandringham as well with concussion. So, a little bit unfortunate there. Tall defender, 194 centimetres, Vic Metro. He would be linked to Fremantle. So, interesting one there. Fremantle probably don't need that, I'll be honest. I think they'd probably look for a midfield depth, maybe some forward depth. We'll have to wait and see. Joe Berry. I don't know. I kind of like that name. Small forward who built around the modern game. Berry can run. He gets up and down the ground. He sets up teammates. Killer goal instinct as well. So, 180 centimetres. Not too bad for a small forward. I would take that. Vic Country. He would be linked to the Giants. The Giants love to pick up small forwards in drafts, so we'll have to wait and see on that front. Jack Whitlock is up next, key forward. This is the second key forward in this draft that people are looking at. So he's got a mix of his height and strong leap, finishing second in the standing vertical leap with 75 centimetres and fifth in the running vertical leap. So definitely could get the ball around the ground, not just inside 50, but finished with 25 goals from 12 games at the Bushrangers. Good to see from him. He's linked to the 16th pick for the Giants. So Giants don't really know if they need another key forward. So I think they'll probably miss that one. But at the moment, he would be linked there. Another tall forward next up is Job Shanahan. And knows where the goals are. No doubt about it, as he's written here. 11 goals from 3 games playing for Essendon's VFL team late in the year. Also had 23 goals, 12 and 11 appearances for Bendigo. So 194, tall forward for the Bendigo Pioneers and the Allies. He would be linked to the Bulldogs. So that's an interesting one as well. Pick 17 there in the draft. He's from New South Wales, it seems. So that does mean he would be the Allies. So it could be picked up by the Giants in the pick beforehand. After that, we have Cooper Hines. Vic Country, Dandenong Stingrays, a midfield forward. 190 centimetres, not too bad. Ankle injury ruled out. Hines testing for the draft combine. Midfield forward, though, has the size and plays the style that uses it. He bustles through packs, breaks through tackles. Bit of a, I don't want to put the moz on him, but a bit of a Jake Stringer sort of type, I would say. He's linked to Richmond's 18th pick, so definitely some good players there for Hawthorn. After that, we get to Sam Marshall. So he's a Brisbane Academy player. I think is he a father, son, or just an academy? Pretty sure it's just an academy player. He is. So he's an academy player. He's number 22 here, 185 centimetres, midfielder. He'd be obviously going to Brisbane. He's already aligned that spot, so Brisbane would be taking that one. After that, number 23 in this list is a key forward / defender, Matt Whitlock. I love the name Whitlock. Done both ends, starting at the season as a key defender before changing around as an impressive forward threat. He kicked 27 goals for the Bushrangers for the season, including 8 games of multiple goals. Well, he was a top 10 at the draft combine for running and standing vertical leap tests. He would be linked to the Sydney Swans. So I'd love if he went to Sydney as a key defender or maybe not so much a key forward, but I think Sydney could definitely use that key defender spot to grow, especially with that Dane Rampy. How tall is he? He's 199, so he's really tall actually for a defender. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind that if the Swans picked him up. Definitely no problem with picking up key position players whatsoever. After that, we get to Jesse Delotti. Oh, I love the name. Detoli, I guess that. Forward mid, 179 centimetres, plays with a bit of swagger and confidence, as they like to say, which are the necessary tools to take those traits into the AFL. Midfield forward takes his chances when he's around goal. Another Richmond pick here, pick 20. So Richmond are definitely building around those younger players. It's going to be a bit tough early though, but hopefully they can pull through. Number 25 on the list is Jonty Foal. Don't mind it. Another tall forward here, 195 centimetres. Injury curtailed his first half of the season. But with recovering from his back injury, showed his ability as a tough competitive goal kicker. Hard running, good work ethic, and it's been essential to his style. He booted 4 goals in the qualifying final and 5 in the prelim to help push his side into the grand final. 27 goals from 11 games. Prolific output from him. That's linked to the 21st pick, which is the Giants. So we'll see how that one plays out. Don't know how many Giants players, how many key forwards they want to pick up. Harry Oliver next up. He's a 181 centimetre defender for Sandringham, Vic Metro. Tough, brave, competitive half-backer. So has his fans as a potential first-round pick as well. So could scrape into the first round at this stage. Yeah, I think first round, finishes at number 24. So he could go picked by the Sydney Swans. Wouldn't mind a small defender, half-backer to come through. He can stop opposition forwards for A's while creating play himself. So a little bit young though to play as a small defender, although we've seen some small defenders play well in their first year. So see how that one plays out. Tom Gross, pick 27, midfield forward, 181 centimetres. Has been the most damaging influential when he splits his time between midfield and forward. Bobs up, kick goals, averaging just under a goal a game for the season. He'd be linked to Richmond's 23rd pick. So that's the end of the first round, if it all goes to plan. Obviously it won't, but that's kind of where it's linked to at this stage. So if you want to check out the Cal Toomey article, it's on the AFL website. And that's the draft picks at this stage. Obviously, they can be traded on draft night. We'll have to wait and see on that front. But yeah, a couple of good, interesting players. Richmond obviously dominating the first round of the draft. So if you're a Richmond fan, that's the day for you. But I think that's all the AFL stuff we have to talk about in this video, guys. Episode of the podcast. So we'll move on, quickly talk about some world sport before we end it. So, brother's not here. Liverpool drew to Arsenal. Losers. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They suck anyway. Chelsea won against Fulham. Absolute superstars. They are amazing. Cole Palmer, I think I'm going to get a tattoo of number 20 on the back of my back, actually, just because he's so talented. He had a goal disallowed in the first half in the fourth. It was a very close one, but never got the Blues over the line. Chelsea won 2-1 over Newcastle. Good win from them. What was the other game I want to take a look at? So it was... Of course, my thing's going to freeze, as it always does. There we go. All right, so yeah, the one I want to talk about here is Crystal Palace v Tottenham, because if you go watch the highlights, you probably can. Go watch the highlights if you haven't. But if you have, oh my God, they have to find some consistency, Tottenham. I love Ange. Everyone loves Ange here in Australia. I don't think anyone hates him, unless you're maybe an Arsenal fan, maybe. But even then, I think you want Ange to do well. He needs to get his team to play consistently, because the best of Tottenham is one of the best teams in the Prem. When they play poorly, they play horrendous. They got dominated by Crystal Palace. You don't get dominated as a top 6 club, or 7 or 8, whatever, by Crystal Palace. And they only lost 1-0. They could have lost by a lot more. Crystal Palace dominated them. You just watch the highlights of that game. There's not many highlights for Tottenham, I'll tell you that much. Crystal Palace dominated and probably should have won by a lot more. I mean, a good win from Crystal Palace, but Tottenham, oh my God. There's going to be question marks starting on around Ange soon. They want him as a long-term prospect, but English Premier League, it's such a pressure cooker environment. I'm very surprised he's actually lasted this long. I don't think he's done bad, but I don't think he's done... I know this sounds harsh, but he hasn't done enough. I don't feel like he's done enough for Tottenham. So I don't think they've done much. They haven't moved further. They're playing Europa League now. I mean, they're in the Champions League the season before, so I don't know. Interesting to see how that plays out. In the Battle of the El Sacico, as people are calling it, West Ham against Manchester United. West Ham won. Oh, Devo. I know there was a contentious what was it, penalty or something taken away. Given to West Ham late in the game to Patrick Bowen. I don't think it was a penalty, but also I don't care. Sorry, Eric Ten Hag. It's unfortunate. He's probably going to get sacked after that, but yeah. Sorry. Arsenal, Liverpool. Arsenal had this game won, dude. They had this game won. After the game, so many players saying they were disappointed. They knew they should have won the game. Liverpool walk away smiling with a draw because they were pretty well beaten. But of course, when they need someone to step up, who else but Mo Salah in the 80th minute? Liverpool had him as a saviour. Lucky for them, because if they didn't, they were going to lose. They've dropped out of the top spot. Looking at other results throughout the weekend, Everton 1-1 draw against Fulham. Manchester City, kind of a tough game against Southampton. Southampton fought hard throughout the whole game, but still came away 1-0 winners. Brighton and Wolves 2-2 draw. Brentford won 4-3 over Ipswich Town in a goal fest. Aston Villa surprisingly drew to Bournemouth, and that's basically the results of the week. And I think that's all the games for this week. It is. So looking at the table on the Premier League, City are in top spot, 23 points. Liverpool are in 22 points. Arsenal 5 points off the pace in 18 with Aston Villa. Chelsea, obviously very early on in the season. We're not even third of the way through it. Chelsea are on 17 points in 5th spot. Brighton are in 16 points, 6th spot, equal with Nottingham Forest. So Nottingham Forest really making a play. And right now, most of the credit, you'd have to say, would be going to the New Zealander, the Kiwi, and Chris Wood. Absolutely amazing season he's putting together so far. Very early points, but he's doing very well. I'm pretty sure he's actually second in the goals for the Premier League. No, he's third, equal third. So he's equal third. They've got Erling Haaland obviously on top of the 11. Far out. Sorry to whoever this is. Mumbo. Oh my god, I sound like a moron. He's got 8 for Brentford. I don't know what his name. Sorry. Cole Palmer on 7 with Chris Wood, and then Nicholas Jackson with the 6. Cole Palmer. Can we just admit that he's the best player in the Premier League already? Like, seriously? Are you guys not going to admit it right now? You guys are selfish. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about the NFL, because again, my team won. Oh my god, what a weekend I had. Looking at it, the Falcons won over the Buccaneers. They almost shot themselves in the fucking foot. Oh my god. Fucking hell. Way cool. All he had to do was kick the field goal, put it to 8 points. Wouldn't have put the game beyond doubt, but he would have put the game pretty well beyond it. It would have had to be a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. Luckily, the Falcons held on. They didn't score in the final quarter, but they got away with it. Looking at other results, the Ravens lost to the Browns. Colts lost to the Texans. Packers won over the Jaguars. They should have won better. They only won by 3 points. Lions absolutely obliterated the Titans. The Jets lost to the Patriots to give them the second win of the season. Cardinals won by 1 point over the Dolphins. Eagles smashed the Bengals. Chargers beat the Saints. Bills beat the Seahawks. Pretty big beating there. And the Chiefs beat the Raiders. But the game that we have to talk about here, if you haven't seen the highlights, I'll say it now before I spoil it, go watch the highlights of the Bears v Commanders game. Don't even watch the highlights. Just scroll past it. You'll probably get 3 mid-rolls. I'm sorry. You'll have to go scroll through this for the 15-minute highlights on the NFL channel. Get to the last bit of the Bears versus Commanders game, because here comes the spoiler warning. It's gone now. Sorry, if you want to be spoiled, you're going to hear it. What a play by the Commanders to play a Hail Mary to win the game from that. It was amazing. The way Daniels, I think he was actually recalled into the squad to play as the quarterback, because I believe their quarterback's injured for the Commanders. I'm pretty sure. I'm just going to have a quick look. I'm pretty sure he was injured. Jaden Daniels. There was concern if he wasn't going to play, but he did play in the end. And what a throw that was in the final moments. Was running around. He would have been running around from that play for at least 20 seconds, I would say, from the snap. He got the ball, ran laterally 10 metres, laterally about 20 metres. His offensive line did brilliantly to hold off any sort of attack on him. Had all the time in the world to pick his spot, threw the ball. I think it was like 55 yards. Does it say here how long the yard was played? So, yeah, 52-yard throw. He threw it about 49 yards. He got it to the line, and as it played, all the players converge, hit behind him, and like it hit from the I think it was the Chicago defender, went up to try and catch it, flicked off his fingers, and then the receiver in the end zone just stood there, took the easiest Hail Mary catch you'd ever take. It was an amazing play. You know, you hear about Hail Mary plays and they never work out, and it's always like, oh, who gives a shit? What a play from the Commanders. They're actually having a really good season, and that capped it off. And the Bears, they, unfortunately for them, choked. All they had to do was get that ball out of bounds, or just get it to ground. Had to get it to ground. Their offensive line, I know this is, I mean, I don't know. Surely someone should be able to push past a couple of defenders. Surely, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, good win from the Commanders. What a performance. What a final play that was. But looking at the playoff spots at the moment, so we're nearly halfway through the season now. And on the NFC side, the Lions are on top. They are the team to beat in the NFC side. The Commanders are in second with that win from behind. The Falcons, third seed at the moment. They're on top of the NFC. They're on top of their conference. That's good to see. The Cardinals jump into fourth spot. So they're in front of their conference, but not very convincingly. In fact, not at all, really. Because looking at the wildcard spots right now, the Packers are 6-2, Vikings 5-2, Eagles 5-2 as well. So they're all in wildcard spots and doing better than the Cardinals. So, I mean, the Cardinals got to win their conference, but they're holding on by a thread. And then teams in a spot to try and beat them at this stage: the Bears 4-3, Bucks 4-4, 49ers 4-4, Seahawks 4-4, and then it kind of falls off with the Rams and the Cowboys with a game in hand 3-4. So who knows how that plays out? Still undefeated. Fuck, it's boring. The Chiefs are 7-0. Can someone just wipe them out of the NFL just for a year? Just so we could watch someone not... It's so fucking boring. Ugh. It's like the Hawthorn in those years. It's like, ugh, they're there again. I mean, I'm not a neutral. I'm a Falcons fan, but fuck me, it's so boring. More interesting anyway. The Texans, a couple of years ago, they were right down the bottom of the AFC, and I think the worst team in the comp. They're 6-2 right now. They're doing really well. The Bills 6-2. They're in third seed. Steelers 5-2. Obviously scraped into the playoffs last season. Didn't do much there, but still. And then in the wild card spots, we have the Broncos 5-3, Ravens 5-3, Chargers 4-3, and then going into teams still fighting it out, we have the Colts at 4-4 and the Bengals at 3-4. So 3-5, sorry. So there's a lot of spots still up for grabs in the AFC side. I mean, any team really. I mean, the Dolphins are 2-5, Browns are 2-6, Raiders 2-6. Kind of falls off from there. I don't really think anyone else can do it, but not even the Raiders, to be fair. But, the Browns are only 2 wins away, and they're almost in their spot. Dolphins, I think Tua comes back next game. Hawk Tua comes back next game. Bengals as well, they can hit some form. And the Colts, I think they're a bit of a who knows, but any of those teams, I think, can just jump straight in. And Chargers would be a little bit concerned right now. Broncos, good to see them in the AFC spot at this stage. I'd like to see if they can continue to go, but we're about nearly halfway through the season. So I think my brother the last couple of weeks has been, I can't remember what he said. Oh, that's disappointing. He's not here to answer for it. So he said that the Falcons were going to be the top seed. I kind of agree with him. So I'm going to go with I'm only going with this because my brother said it. He said the Falcons are the top seed for the Super Bowl this year. Take it all the way out, not choke like they did last time. Why are you giving me a mid-roll out on this fucking app? Holy shit. But Falcons, look, they're doing well. Kirk Cousins, great recruit. They finally picked a QB since they lost Matt Ryan a couple of years ago I think he went to the Colts in the end. But at least it's good to see the Falcons starting to come through. Obviously, a little bit of a new age of them, but they did some good performances. They're 5-3 right now, so can't ask for a lot more than that at this stage. They're on top of their conference. They're in a good spot. Hopefully they can continue. But guys, that is the end of the episode for the 87th episode of the Boundary Riders podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I will just quickly mention as well, we may actually be missing our first ever episode next week. We're going to try and get one out, me and my brother, record at the end of midway through this week. So it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to try and figure out a way to make an episode. I think what we're going to do is just do a couple of drafts, look at them, and do a redraft of them. Just talk about that in an episode. I think that's maybe what we're going to do because the reason is because I'm going on holiday and I won't have any access to the internet. So well, that's one reason, but also I'm not going to do a podcast with my wife. I'm not going to sit there and talk to her about football. She would kill me. So that's the real reason. But also, I'm not going to be having internet access anyway. So I get back on Tuesday afternoon, and the episode comes out Wednesday. So I'm going to be driving for 7 hours. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think I'd rather end my life in a video game than come back here and record an hour podcast with my brother and talk about football. I'm going to be honest with you. I love doing this. I love talking to you guys about footy and other sports as well. I could not think of any worse torture. I'm going to be honest with you. But if we don't have an episode, I'll put out a message on the community tab that we won't have one. If we do, we'll be out Wednesday morning as always. But again, guys, thank you for the support on this podcast and the channel. Like I said, there will be a video essay coming out on the Monday. I'll schedule it so next week. So don't worry about that. There will be at least one piece of content for you guys next week. But yeah, that's all from me, guys. Thank you for listening. If you did enjoy this episode of the Banner Riders podcast, make sure to leave us 5 stars. And, of course, make sure to follow over to Spotify. And if you are on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. We've got over 2,100 subscribers now. Thank you so much for the support, guys. Hopefully you do enjoy the video essay. Hopefully it's not too contentious for you. Hopefully you listen to my points. And I'll give you one thing. I don't take either side. I take shots at both sides of the political spectrum. And the AFL space, I guess. That's just one thing you can take away from it because I just think it's a bit ridiculous, the whole point of it. But yeah, that's basically what I'm going to talk about. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about it if we do another episode. I may talk a little bit about the video essay itself because, I mean, it'll be out for you guys and I've already seen it. My brother has seen it. He usually takes a watch at it. So maybe we'll talk about it if we do another episode. But if we're not, we'll talk about it the next week after that. But again, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching and we'll catch you all, hopefully, next week.